Okay, calling the meeting to order, 4 o'clock. Roll call, please.
Trustee Crane?
Here.
Trustee Wigan?
Here.
Trustee Soilu?
Here.
Trustee Barto?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Yep.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
Here.
Dr. Smith?
Here.
All right, thank you. And now moving on to item number 2, adoption of agenda. And I'd like to amend the agenda to remove 4F and 16B4 as these matters have been resolved. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Okay, Trustee Barto made the motion. Second? Anyone? Oh, do you want some time?
Which one were we
Oh,
removing? Okay.
all right. It's 4F, which is the consideration of student request for postponement of expulsion hearing.
Okay.
And then the related item on 16B4, which is, hold on. Approve action on student request for postponement of expulsion hearing pursuant to Ed Code Section 48918. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Trustee Barto and a second by Trustee Anderson. Roll call vote?
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Wigan?
Yes.
Trustee Soilu?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. Seeing that there are no community input on closed session items, we will be going into closed session, and the items are conference with legal counsel, workers' compensation, and then B, conference with legal counsel, workers' compensation, C, existing settlement negotiations, D, conference with labor negotiator, E, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, employment. All right, and we will now go into closed session. Okay, calling the meeting to order. Trustee Wigan, would you please lead us in a moment of reflection and a pledge of allegiance?
All rise. Ready, begin.
Okay, we move on to adopting the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
That was, okay, Trustee Wygand moved it, and Trustee Murphy seconded it. Roll call, please.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Wigan?
Yes.
Trustee Soilu?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
All right, the motion passes. We move on to Harbor Council PTA report. Ms. Martha Floor.
Good evening, President Crane, Vice President Wigan, Clerk Ursalu, trustees, Superintendent Smith, and cabinet members. My name is Martha Floor, and I am the 24-25 Harbor Council PTA. No one else would take it. First of all, I'd want to thank and give a major shout out to maintenance and operations. Their staff worked all year long, and our schools look fabulous. The construction is going well, but thank you again to Lance Bidnick and his staff. It's just fabulous. To the district staff, Dr. Smith, Leona, and she's not here.
Who are you looking for?
Megan, Kristen Clark. Great hiring. We've got the best teachers and fabulous. To the teachers and administrations at the schools for creating a welcoming environment for our students. And finally to our PTA volunteers and other community volunteers who staffed back to school events, lunches and breakfast this week and last week. To those PTA volunteers who helped at registration, especially at the high schools. To all of the PTA volunteers who did the meet and greets at the schools. Again, I encourage each and every one of you, as well as all district staff, to become a member of one of our PTAs. Without your support and the 5,000 PTA members that we will have this year, it will be an amazing thing to watch. We also have established a theme, and we're talking about the power and empowering the PTA with leadership. So thank you very much, and good start.
Thank you. And now we move on to CSEA with Crystal Gomez.
Dear School Board Directors, Superintendent Smith, Assistant Superintendents, Directors, Staff, and Families, my name is Crystal Gomez. I am the Treasurer of Newport-Mesa 18 Chapter. Unfortunately, our CSEA Chapter President, Amy Ching, could not attend tonight's meeting, so my nerves always make me right, so here I am. On her behalf, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all our classified employees who played a crucial role in the Summer Scholars Program and the Newport-Mesa Resource Fair led this summer. I would like to specifically extend my gratitude to our dedicated classified staff members of the Maintenance and Operations, Purchasing, Warehouse, Engagement, Partnership, and Expanded Learning on Multilingual Programs, Payroll, and Human Resources team. Your hard work, commitment, and unwavering dedication do not go unnoticed. Even when faced with challenges, you maintain a positive spirit and continue to deliver exceptional service. This is the essence of our teamwork. The collaboration between classified staff and leaders is what makes these invaluable programs and events possible for all our families. I'm continuously impressed by how your dedication is reflected in the smiles and laughter shared during these events. Thank you again for your time, and thank you, classified folks, for your amazing service, and thank you, board, for those who came to our events. So we really value you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Move on to NMFT report with President Rhonda Reed.
I feel like the aisles are like the parking spots. They're just getting smaller and smaller. Good evening, President Crane, trustees, Dr. Smith, cabinet, and guests here tonight. So it's the second day of school with students. Teachers and educators are so excited to be back in the classroom filled with students. It's been reported to me that throughout our campuses, there's an extra buzz and energy this year. Yeah, so I have received an extraordinary amount of emails explaining why. So many of our educators have expressed their sheer delight, quite frankly, over the moon, many of them, with the 7% raise for the school year. They, and also the exceptional health benefits that our district has. I think we have the best in Orange County. So this raise will put our educators at a solid second highest paid in Orange County. So our educators feel appreciated, respected, and valued. So thank you, a big thank you to our school board, our superintendent, Leona Olson, our NMUSD and NMFT negotiation teams. So I will join Martha Floor in saying, not a good start, this is a great start. So thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to community input on non-agendized items. Trustee Soilu, could you please read the statement?
This is an opportunity for the public to address the board regarding items not on the regular meeting agenda. Comments on non-agenda topics are limited to 3 minutes per comment, up to 20 minutes per topic. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another person by order of the Brown Act, Section 54954.2. The board will take no action nor have any discussion on non-agendized items. The superintendent may provide clarification during superintendent's comments.
Thank you. I'd like to call Eddie Garcia to the podium, and then next would be Julie Cunningham.
So good evening, board members, Superintendent Wesley, community members and educators. My name is Eddie Garcia. I'm the general manager for Think Together that oversees all of our programs in the Orange County region. You know, that we also operate your program at Paularino Elementary School. So thank you very much. The real reason that I'm here for is really to thank the board, I think, for your recent approval for us continuing at Paularino Elementary School. Our staff has been working closely with Principal Schwartz to create just a solid program again this year. And so we're super excited. They've been working all summer and we've been staffed since day one and ready to go. So thank you very much, everyone, for your approval. I really appreciate that. I also want to thank Director Flores, Christy Flores, and her team, which I see some team members here. Thank you very much for their continued support in preparing for a great 23-24 school year. Last week, they provided a wonderful training that not only just provided a lot of really important information that was necessary, but I think I really appreciate how Director Flores set the stage that said, you know, we are a community and you are part of our Newport-Mesa family. So it was a very, very warm welcome. And so I highly appreciate that because it really is about community. It is about coming together to create a solid educational experience for all our kids. And so we are all partners in the education. So I really want to thank Director Flores for that. And just as your tagline says, inspire, educate, and elevate. And I just feel that that's really aligned with our mission at Think Together that says we want to change the odds for kids where all students have just a great education that prepares them for college, career, and beyond. So I think we're going to be a really, really great partnership. So I'm really looking forward to all the positive things that happen. If possible, I'd like to later on come back to do a wonderful presentation to just provide you with information on all the wonderful engaging activities that are happening at Paularino. And hopefully, you know, I can convince Principal Schwartz to come and join me on that. So I'm looking forward to that. So again, I just want to thank you all for this wonderful partnership. I would like to leave you all with our newsletter for Think Together, and so I will pass it on to maybe your board. So I will do that. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Julie Cunningham, followed by Bruce Brown.
Okay, let's start. Good evening, board members and Dr. Smith. My name is Julie Cunningham. I'm a teacher in Newport-Mesa, and I'm here in hopes that you seriously would consider the possibility of an early retirement incentive, also known as the Golden Handshake. It sounds funny, Golden Handshake, but lately several districts have turned to this long-term cost-saving measure, and the process is pretty straightforward. You find out how many teachers are committed to accepting a reasonable retirement settlement or proposal. You hire an actuary to assess whether or not an early retirement incentive is a cost savings to Newport-Mesa. If there's no cost savings, then the process ends there and it's over and done. If there is a cost savings, then the board approves to save the district money and the taxpayers, and the paperwork then begins. It's a long process, so that's why I'm approaching the board at this point in August, because it takes months to get things through that process. So in comparison, well, with our new pay raise, I use the old formula for the differential in pay, but a beginning teacher in column A, first year, versus a veteran teacher in column D at the end of the column, the difference is $73,424. So basically, it's two teachers for the price of one veteran teacher. And now with the raise, it would be more of a savings, but it's a simple math formula for me. The column A teacher is a first-year teacher, and then column D is where I'm at, but there are teachers on column E, F, and G, and they're making way more than that. So if 50 teachers choose to accept a golden handshake, that's a savings of $4 million based on this last pay rate. And then if 65 teachers retired, it's a savings of $5.2 million per year. And then 100 teachers, well, it's almost 80,000, so it'd be $8 million. And that's just 1 year. So every year would be similar savings to the district, but I'm not able to guess how many millions will be saved by offering an early retirement incentive. That's why an actuary is needed to calculate what the true savings would be. The union president said she had close to 70 people at a retirement meeting, and I'm pretty positive that a real retirement incentive offer would be well received. And recently, districts like Visalia, Novato, Santa Monica, and others have had successful golden handshakes. Anyways, the whole process takes months to complete. That's why I'm proposing the school district take a real look at the numbers provided by an actuary and not to delay. Thank you for listening and your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, and next would be John Morani.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent Smith, and board members. My name is Bruce Brown. My wife and I have raised our children in the Newport-Mesa school system. We served on various PTA committees and supported school activities. We live across the street from Adams Elementary School. Adams Elementary is a fixture in the Mesa Verde community, but the outlook of the school has changed. The placement of a large banner on the fence at the kindergarten pre-K playground has been a point of agitation in the neighborhood. It's bright, large, and graphic, with Adams All-Stars in 3-foot letters on about a 45-foot long banner. I look out my front window and front door and see that every day, 7 days a week. I used to see a play yard and grass. When I contacted the principal at Adams, I was told that the banner was there to provide security and promote school pride. I asked the principal if there had been reported incidents requiring security, or if a study had been done about providing more security if necessary, and he answered no to all of those. If the fence was to provide security and there had been no reported security breaches to the police, the neighborhood's also unaware of security issues around the school. I was told that other schools in the Newport-Mesa School District have similar banners, and according to the principal, they were Mariners and East Bluff. I went and looked at those schools today, and both schools' banners are not used as security. They are not in the placement around housing, and they are actually translucent. You can see through them. I inquired with the City of Costa Mesa regulators about signs and banners, and it appears that Adams Elementary is actually in violation of the city code on banners and signs. So I hope that the board will consider this matter and resolve it simply so that our neighborhood doesn't have to contend with a big billboard that we stare at day in, day out. Thank you.
Thank you. And John Morani, and next would be Portia Fisher.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent Smith, and board members. My name is John Morani, and I'm here to also discuss the Adams Elementary banner erection. This started in April of this year when the banner was suddenly erected. I thought it was just for some quick event that they were going to put up for a week and then take down, but as time went on, it stayed up. I contacted the principal and was asked about it, and he told me that it was for security reasons, which is it's covering the fence for the kindergarten area. So I can certainly understand the reasons for privacy there, but I took issue because back when they erected those fences in 2015, they took neighborhood input. We met, we had meetings, we were discussing about, how it was going to affect the neighborhood, and they assured us at that time that they would not put banners or signs on those fences, and that was part of the agreement for the neighborhood to acknowledge the new fences. So since then, I've talked with a lot of neighbors to get their input, and because, as Bruce mentioned, the size of the banner, the in-your-face, the size of the colors, there's stars, and it's directly across my residence. And I work from home. My window, my office is right there. I see it every day. There's no avoiding it. So I suggested some compromises with the principal from a security standpoint. Like, could just be a solid color without the graphics. They could plant some vines or trees for blocking that. So when I made those suggestions, I was told that no, it's now for school pride. So the goalpost is changing. Is it for security or for school pride? And again, going back to the original, when those fences were put up, they said they weren't going to use it for banners and so forth. So I'm running short on time, but it's kind of just one thing after another with having to deal with living across the school. And I know there's certain things that can't be done, but we're constantly finding parking issues. Teachers and staff park right in front of our house. They park right in front of our driveway. I've had my trash cans blocked where the trash trucks pass by and won't pick up my trash cans. I've had late night deliveries at midnight, 1 in the morning for the school drop-offs with the trucks and their sound and all of that. So it's just one thing after another. So I just like to request some consideration for the neighborhood, and hopefully you will consider removing the banner. Thank you.
Thank you. Portia Fisher?
Thank you, President Crane and Superintendent Smith and all board members. Living across the street from a school is hard. And I understand. I've been a teacher who worked in a school in a neighborhood. I get that. There is a long list of things that we have to put up with. And I think this banner was the straw that broke our back. It is not at all aesthetically pleasing. It does not provide security. You can see in that kindergarten playground from every angle around it. And at the bottom line is that they did say to all of us in the neighborhood they would not put up banners. And there are banners all over that place. It kind of, it cheapens it. It really does lose a bit of its class, to be honest. So along with the other issues like parking, the marquee sign that for some reason the light can't go off at night, so it glares into my kitchen window every night when nobody is there on the campus, and all of the extra noise that affects the people that do work from home with the loudspeaker. We've been good neighbors and dealt with a lot of it, but we would really love some help with this sign. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, superintendent comments?
Yeah, we'll want to thank Think Together for the long-term relationship. In fact, like my first week in the district, folks made it a point to make sure that I was aware that it started, I think, at Shalimar and after-school programs, really an attempt by community members to benefit some of our neediest student populations. So being that the genesis of it, it doesn't surprise me that all these years later, they continue to offer these services that benefit our students. So thank you. They also are helping us with the Talent Collaborative. Yeah, their CEO is a big thinker and a problem solver. And they've figured out a way in the state of California to really help offset some of these staffing challenges, especially related to expanded learning. So thank you is what I would say to that, and recognize the work that's been done for many years. The comments about SERP are accurate. I would add that I've done them 3 different times in 2 different districts, so I'm well aware of the process. One of the reasons you do it too, besides the monetary value, is for staffing adjustments. When districts are right-sizing or changing staffing, that's one way that they can address that without layoffs, et cetera. We're growing staff right now, so it's a little different scenario for us. And another element to think about is there's a staffing shortage in California. Not all districts start the year with 100% of their classrooms staffed. PTA thanked us for that. I would thank HR for that hard work they do. Not all are like that, so we have to think about that dynamic as we look at the cert, but certainly something the board can always study and look at. Nothing wrong with data. With regard to the Adams sign, I think for me the bigger issue that I heard was, the district being as good a neighbor as the residents being for the district. And I would certainly start with, we can always be better at communicating. One of the board's priorities is for us to better communicate with and engage our constituents. And I would agree that those conversations are better had before we do something than afterwards. So total agreement there. As it relates to the fence, we did have the OKAYAK report that came out, and those were specifically mentioned in our conversation with those safety experts that safety screens do. While they're not where you couldn't get up to them and see through them, they dissuade people from driving by and looking at, especially in like custody battles, or we have people in our community that are looking for ways to peer at some of our younger students. This is something that was a recommendation by them. And certainly they could be all green or something like that. We work with the schools to help them design the look. And Adams went with Adams All-Stars, and I know the PTA helped with that project. I think, though, as far as the other comments that were made, and I'd like to have my team follow up, Jeff, with the community member that spoke, so many things there that are things we could look at, the deliveries, those kinds of things. Bells and PAs are a little tough at schools because they're the one way we have to communicate campus-wide. But certainly the things that we control, parking, we work with our city officials all the time on parking issues. So we can look at that and see if we can be an ally with the parking situation. I know several of the trustees up here have been talking about that quite a bit, how the city can help us help residents and staff in that regard. And then as far as the violation, I'm unaware of any city violation. They certainly haven't communicated that to us, but I'll follow up with that because we certainly want to be good residents in this business community. But Jeff, I'll have you follow up with the resident later and see if we can put a conversation together to see some of those things that we've been doing, trucks, et cetera, deliveries, and be better partners in the community. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Seeing that we do not have any community input on agendized items, we will now move on to achievement report.
Yes, good evening. Tonight we actually are bringing forward 2 achievement reports. We have early literacy with Dr. Lori Hernandez and Kathleen Leary, who will be starting off, and we'll follow with attendance with Carrie Torres, Sarah Coley, and Dr. Mina Blasey.
Thank you.
There we are. All right. Good evening, President Crane, members of the board, Dr. Smith, staff, and guests. We're excited to share some information tonight about the work we're doing to improve early literacy outcomes, starting with our youngest learners. Improving academic achievement remains our focus in elementary education. Tonight, you'll hear about our continued efforts to strengthen early literacy practices, which is one of the board priorities. Just as a reminder, we've started with this slide before for you. When we refer to early literacy, we're referring to a compilation of skills required to become fluent readers. This includes listening, speaking, vocabulary, phonemic awareness, phonics, and more. We strive for a continuum of core practices that ensure all students from pre-K to grade 3 acquire what is needed to read and write proficiently. All of these skills are important and connected. So we use Acadience to screen and monitor the acquisition of those early literacy skills. And Acadience is a crucial screener for identifying students who need more intensive support, as well as students who are ready to read independently. And we analyze the scores on individual skills and the total score across all measures. And we do that 3 times a year. And then we also have between the benchmark checkpoints for any student that showed that they weren't making progress on the 3 benchmarks. So you can see this is looking at the overall composite scores for last year from beginning to end. You can see that with the full implementation of Haggerty along with some of our other actions, we're seeing more students moving into the at or above standard level. So the assessment becomes more complex as the year progresses. So when you look at beginning of the year to end of year, there are actually different skills that gets more complex, the expectation. So this is not just students making progress. If we saw kindergarten beginning 70, end of year 70, that would be still students making progress. But what we're actually seeing is that we're seeing that progress plus a significant number of students who were at risk in the first trimester of the year moving into the at or above category. So we're excited to see what happens as we roll up to second grade because this was with full implementation at K1. You can see the beginning to the end, the growth of students that are at or above. So we've put in place in kindergarten the Haggerty curriculum, focused professional development, and we also have our full-time support teachers whose work has really concentrated on moving students up in these early literacy skills. So last time we presented to you, we shared details about several of our early literacy actions, and tonight we're going to focus on updating you on our PK-TK professional development, parent engagement, and our second grade implementation of Haggerty Bridge to Reading, which is just launching with the start of the new school year.
So in pre-K and TK, this year, professional development builds on the foundation that we established last year in early literacy. We focus primarily on alphabet and print knowledge, as well as phonological awareness. This year, we're focusing on how teachers can intentionally support children's cognitive and language development throughout the day by using effective language modeling strategies. This includes setting up opportunities throughout the day for teachers to ask open-ended questions and demonstrate the use of diverse vocabulary. Additionally, our PD emphasized the importance of collaboration between the teacher and the early learning IAs to ensure language modeling is consistently integrated into daily routines. And this PD will be for all pre-K and TK teachers. There are several that we are offering for those that opted in. First, we are doing a second cohort of letters for early childhood educators, which focuses on the science of reading as it pertains to early childhood. And in addition, we have a group of teachers who will be going forward with the early learning GLAD training. In the past, we have mentioned how important and how critical the role of parents play in fostering early literacy skills. So that's why we are committed to building a strong partnership with our pre-K and TK parents to support their children's early reading and writing development. Our goal is to empower parents as their child's first teacher and the most important teacher by providing them with resources and strategies, all sorts of support so they can create a rich literacy environment at home. By working together, we can ensure that every child enters kindergarten not only ready to learn, but with a love of reading and skills necessary to succeed academically and set them on a path of success. So we have created in our department lots of resources in multiple languages so that we have shared with teachers that they can give as homework or activities that they can be doing just by reading, maybe everyday activities when they're in the grocery store or driving in the car. What type of activities can they do with their children to engage with them and to promote literacy? So one of the things we were looking at last year is we know that there's a question about how, with TK and the effect it has on our kindergarten when they enter kindergarten. So looking at the Acadience, which was one of the things that Dr. Hernandez shared with us, is that we looked at first sound fluency, which is a short oral test that measures a student's ability to hear and identify the first sounds. And we know from research that this is a precursor to decoding words. So looking at overall data from all of our schools, 62% were at or above with no TK. And if the students came in with TK experience, they had an 83% at or above benchmark in the first sound fluency. There was even a more dramatic effect in Title I schools. 44% of them, if they did not have TK, 44% of them were at or above grade level or benchmark. And with TK, 72% were at or above benchmark. So we could see that there, just by participating in TK, there was a great effect on their beginning Acadians data.
When we talk about the science of reading, just a reminder, we emphasize that word recognition, which includes phonological awareness and decoding, has to be explicitly taught and developed in a systematic way. So this image just shows that we've supplemented Bridge to Reading as a curriculum to address word recognition. We still continue to use wonders for all the other elements of reading. So it's not that we're not still doing wonders, still doing all that comprehension work. It's that we've added this piece to teach phonics in a more systematic way. And we've talked a lot about this to you over several presentations. So we're excited tonight to actually show you what it looks like when we say we're teaching Bridge to Reading. If all the technology works, let's.
Tell me that word back, and then we're going to say the initial or the beginning.
Whoop.
Are you ready?
Is that as loud as it gets?
Say people. People. Beginning sound. Good. Say echo. Echo. Beginning sound. Good job. Say tumble. Tumble. Beginning sound. Good job. Say actor. Actor. Beginning sound. Excellent. I'm going to tell you two sounds. You are going to repeat those sounds back to me and then blend it and make a word. Are you ready? Here we go. Ooh. 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 Beautiful. Oh. Mm. Oh. Oh. Good job. B. Oh. 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 Good job. All right. We're going to talk about ending sounds. Remember, we just changed it this week. We are going to, in our ending sounds, I'm going to tell you a whole sentence. In that sentence, every word has the same ending sound. I want you to listen for it. And then I'm going to ask you to tell me just the ending sound. You ready?
So that just gives you a little taste of what it looks like in kindergarten, and then we can go up to first grade. And you'll see that the skills in the program progress, and this is an example from first grade.
Sound cute. Everybody show me your hands. Sound cute. Cute. First sound. Use your spell tab to spell cute. First sound. Try again, Everett. What other sound makes the k sound? Last sound. What's the last sound? T. Go ahead and spell t. It's in the consonant section. There you go. Awesome. Okay, everybody, let's tap it. Here we go. K, u, t. Read. Cute. Good. Everybody put the C back. Now, we're going to try one. Leave the T there, Dallas. Leave your T. Put your T back. Yep. Put your T back in the word. There you go. Okay, we're going to sound a new word. Are you guys ready? Eyes up here. Here we go. Oot. Flute. First sound. Find. Guess what? You're going to have to make room because there's another sound in there. Good job, Victoria.
So that gives you an idea of what it might look like in first grade. And these are the spell tab folders, which are either like little Post-its to make it more kinesthetic. Some teachers might use whiteboards or magnets or another type of a letter manipulative. But the idea is that kids are now transferring what they learned with the chopping and the oral practice into actually spelling words. And so that's part of the progression of those early literacy skills we've been talking about. Whoop.
Sound.
There we go.
We are very excited about the work that we have been collaborating with early childhood and elementary, but we still have a lot of work to do. And we're going to continue with our letters training. Up until this point, we have 59 classroom teachers plus 70 support and SAI teachers that have been trained. And in preschool and TK, we have 43 teachers who are participating or have participated in our letters training. We are going to roll out the Haggerty implementation to grade 2. We're going to continue to have full-time and part-time support teachers supporting all of our students. Another thing that we'll be focusing on this year is expository writing training for our teachers mid-year. And we'll continue on with our strong pre-K, TK early literacy and numeracy practices and continuing with our TOSA support to support the writing training that we will be doing.
At this time, we're happy to answer any questions.
Trustees? Trustee Barto and then Murphy?
I just have a comment. Thank you so much. This looks really wonderful, and it's just so amazing to see the number of progress on the paper, but just, I know that that's such a powerful way to learn to read, so thank you for all the efforts you put into that.
Thank you.
Trustee Murphy, Anderson, and then Wygand.
No, I totally agree. I got to watch that in action, actually visiting a classroom. It was so awesome. Except for Michelle and I were, or Trustee Barto and I were laughing. I'm like, I can't remember Haggerty. Whenever anyone has asked me what it's called, I'm like, why is that so hard? It's like something out of, out of the movies, out of what's it called? Anyways, Haggerty. And so Haggerty now is being mixed basically with, you're using it in conjunction with you're bringing it together with the
Wonders?
Yes. So is the plan to fade out Wonders or?
No. So they teach different components of reading. So Bridge to Reading, which is Haggerty's curriculum, only addresses those phonemic awareness and phonics skills. That's one part of reading, which we found to be weak in Wonders. So just through, our implementation, we found that in learning more about the science of reading, we needed something that was really more direct, systematic, quick. And there's some new approaches just coming out about the best practices in teaching phonics. So that's only replacing this one little segment of Wonders. The rest of comprehension, they're still reading the stories, they're writing about the stories, they're discussing them, they're doing language. All of that is still taught through Wonders. So this is just one little component of their language arts block.
And it seemed to me when I visited the classroom that Haggerty was that the teachers were liking it. So I'm assuming that is still going well.
Yeah, feedback has been very positive because I feel like it's equipping them to know how to meet their students' needs. Because it's giving them lessons. Now we're getting into some really direct intervention in response to the instruction, because every week at the end of the week they do a word check. We can tell more immediately, okay, these 3 kids did not grasp that vowel sound. We need to intervene immediately, as opposed to kind of waiting through longer periods of time in kinder and first. And I think that's one of the things that we're shoring up this year now is K1, how do we immediately respond in a more systematic way? And the TOSAs, one of our TOSAs has created little small group lessons based on this that they can then do. And then now moving it up to second, it's going to equip second grade teachers to catch kids that still aren't fluent readers. But then it moves pretty quickly where, they get to writing and more advanced fluency pretty quickly in the program.
And then we do have the curriculum for upper grades. It said you're going to start implementing that for. So do we have teachers trained to do that, or
not for Haggerty? What we do for upper. So that was referring to the full-time support teachers. When we started with having full-time support teachers that we really are centrally training and supporting. now at all of our schools, we have full-time support, and they've been really concentrated on this early literacy effort. And now that you can see based on our data, we're really reaching about 80% of our kids. We're really making some headway in early literacy. Now we really need to shift their efforts to making sure that everyone who has slipped through the cracks is caught. And we don't do that with Bridge to Reading because it is a very primary looking curriculum. So we have we have SIPs and we call it UFLI, UFLI, that are intervention curriculum for upper grade. In upper grade, sometimes it's a phonics issue, and then we use that. Sometimes it's other issues. So we are working with our support teachers to now support comprehension and some of the other areas of literacy.
Okay. So how long do you think it'll be before we see sort of, implementation at those upper grades, or be able to take a look at some of the data on how we're catching up with those upper grades? Is that in the next couple of years?
I mean, we have data showing, where we're making growth and not making growth in different areas of literacy in upper grade. I think what we're going to see, my hope is what we're going to see is that now these kids that we have worked so hard on all their foundational skills, they're going to roll up into and be more successful upper graders. So we should see a trajectory just like we've seen with kinder. Then we see this growth in first. We're hoping next year second. And every year these kids are rolling up more prepared for the content of their grade levels. So we do hope that, nothing happens overnight.
Yeah.
But we are also addressing individual. We do have data on upper grade students that still need some foundational skills. We're definitely really addressing that through our support teachers and other types of interventions.
And I'm assuming tracking what's working with them better now that we have new tools. Or
We do.
tools, better
Yeah.
tools. And then just a real quick one is, so the parents as partners, how is that being distributed to parents? Is it being emailed? Is it being?
So in preschool, we have in the half-day program, the part-day program, we do have the first 15 minutes of our day. Parents come in and the teacher is walking the parent and the child through some activities that they can do at home, and then they send home one of those tip sheets. For our
So the parents are aware, right? So they know. Okay.
Then for our full day preschool as well as TK, we've provided these resources to teachers so that they can hand them out, in their weekly folder or during parent-teacher conferences, whenever the teacher feels like it's appropriate to hand them out.
And are these materials they can also email out to
Yes,
the
they can
classroom
email.
parents, and
They're all in PDF in multiple languages.
Are you sending it out to any other preschools around the neighborhood, anything like that? I mean, it just seems like it's, there's always this push, but we create great materials, and how can we get them out,
So we do have on our website, our kindergarten readiness website, we do have some of them for any of the parents in the community, as if they are not coming, if they don't attend one of our preschool or TK, we do have them available on the kindergarten readiness website, so.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Anderson?
Thank you. Yeah, I think to piggyback on that, we have a lot of wonderful preschools, and we're not necessarily competing for them coming to kindergarten. So I think it would be wonderful if we can do a lot of targeted, I think those worksheets are great. They have our logo. It helps people see what we're doing. I also wanted to thank you. I've heard from a lot of my neighbors about the preschool staff going out into the neighborhood and inviting parents directly, answering any questions that they have. That's been instrumental. So thank you for doing that this year. It's great to hear that we have so many waiting lists, particularly for TK, so thank you. I was wondering, it looked like we have for K to second, only 59 classroom teachers have been trained in this. What is the rate? Are we doing, I think we've only been doing this for 2 years, 3 years. Is that only 20 a year? Are we ramping that up?
Yeah, so the first cohort just completed, and the first cohort was just our support teachers and some special education teachers. So that was one cohort. So this is actually only our second cohort beginning of classroom teachers. So last year we started with it, offering it to classroom teachers. It is very time intensive. So these teachers that have gone through this program, it's about 2 to 3 hours a week of study. They have actions they take based on their learning. It's basically like a university course. It's a really high quality professional development, and they do some modules on their own and some reading and videos, and then they actually come to an in-person session that we host. So we are, so we've opened it to anybody that will take it. So we're at a point, we can't force anybody because it is a lot of work outside of their workday, but we have been able to accommodate every teacher that wants to take it. And just for 59, so it's about 60 teachers, and you figure we have about 40 teachers per grade level, K1, 2. So that's a pretty good amount of it's mostly K1 teachers that have taken it.
Yeah, I think we know that this is so successful, right? The numbers show that. So I think any way that we know that Wonders didn't have this. So I don't know if there's a way to include more of that so it's not optional. I think this is so essential for our students to have access to. I'm glad to see that we are continuing to increase the TOSA support and also the SAI. I know last year at Wilson, all of the kindergarten students weren't grade level. That hasn't happened ever. And so then I think all of the kids will continue to accelerate. So I thank you so much for the investment and the intentionality. And I think we can continue to expand. So hopefully all the teachers have access.
Well, and just for a point of clarification, there's the curriculum, and that's in every class. Then there's the letters training, which is like the deep thinking about. So the curriculum is in every class, and that is not optional. What's optional is that additional letters training. And so you get trained and supported in Heggerty no matter what. The question is, do you want this additional training outside the work day? And it's just a deeper, more, as she was saying, intensive. We have a lot of curious professionals who they love this stuff and want to know more. And so that's what's optional. It's not optional to understand the curriculum and how it impacts your students and the support you need to do that well in your classroom. So just to make sure, one is optional, the other is not.
The Heggerty curriculum, not just Wonders?
Is not optional.
Okay.
Yeah, Heggerty is not optional, and neither was the professional development. So we had all of our teachers get trained, and then they also came out of their classroom to watch a demo lesson, have a Q&A with a trainer. We've been through cycles of training with them, and so we're actually have upcoming in September for anybody new to Kinder and First that missed that training. We're swooping them into training to make sure that everyone in those, we're taking this really seriously, that everyone, we say every child is getting access to this curriculum.
Okay.
And just, I don't know if it was super clear, but those videos were our teachers in our classrooms.
Yes, I was happy to see actually.
Sonora.
I know one of the students and she was homeschooled, and I'm glad to see her back in our classroom. So yes, thank you for the clarification.
It was Alicia Williams and Amy Lewis at Sonora.
Trustee Wygand?
Yes, thank you. I want to say these videos in the presentation are awesome. I'd love to see more of those because it's heartwarming. And then I had to get out of my kindergarten classroom where I was like, oh, that was so wonderful. Let's go into the next lesson, So these are great. But I also wanted to ask, you mentioned about the Acadians data or the testing that we do 3 times a year. And then you say that for those students that might need additional support, you do that testing more regularly, say maybe 6 times a year or in between that, first trimester, second trimester. So how does that work? And then what do you do with that data? And then where does that student go?
Yeah, when we do the Acadian screening initially, any student that's not on level then gets monitored. Basically, they kind of get on our radar, and then that's what a big part of what our support teachers do, and we've extensively trained them in. And we don't use the same assessment to assess them again, right? We have a whole bunch of assessments to dig deeper on what exactly the skills are that they're missing, because Acadians is intended to be more of a screener or a benchmark. It gives you some big picture data, and then we can actually drill in and say, what sounds are they missing? What skills in literacy are they missing? Can they identify middle sounds, ending sounds, all of that? And so then we do give them that, and that determines what interventions then we do. So that might place them in a small group working on long vowels, or that might place them in, a phonemic awareness group. And then we have now what we call tier 2 curriculum that would address those needs that have already been taught in the core. And, there's lots of little pumpkins that just need a second scoop of those skills. The idea is to catch them at that point within that trimester so that it doesn't become like Swiss cheese where they're missing more and more. And we do not pull them out of their core instruction. So we keep going because next week it might be a different val pattern. We want them to learn that in core while they're still getting reteaching in the one they missed. So that is kind of, what we're basically saying is our way, is like we don't pull children out of their core instruction. We want every child in the Bridge to Reading instruction, while there's another track going that's catching kiddos that need that extra scoop.
So the extra scoop kids and the other kids that are going along, they're still in class together. So you're somehow having small groups in class with the other ones, and they're all getting something
What they
even
need.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. So it might look like during that center time, like in kindergarten, most of our classrooms do centers, and they might have a support teacher that comes in and is working with some kids, and then the teacher's working with these kids, and some kids are on an independent activity. So that's usually the way it looks in kinder first, is it's done through centers. But we also have, most of our schools have a block of time that they schedule as that, like they either call it a win time, what I need, or an intervention time, or a block of time where everyone's getting something differentiated. And that might mean acceleration for some kids. That might mean, you know, just some practice on level for some kids. It might mean something really intensive one-on-one. If we have a first grader that doesn't know letters and sounds, they're going to be in a one-on-one or a two-on-one group, just really getting that, as opposed to maybe a student that's just missing one vowel pattern and needs a little reteach.
That's awesome. And then with our full-time support reading teachers, they're trained on Heggery, and they have been, that's the primary curriculum that they're using when the kid does go get pulled out for that special reading intervention support teacher, or they pop in, like you were saying, but there's still those small groups that pop out, correct?
So it could be both. So the support teachers are trained on it all. So we have really invested in, and we meet with them monthly. We are working with them on a lot of different things. So most of them they're not using the Bridge to Reading core curriculum. Like the lessons that are part of the core are done by the classroom teacher. What they would be doing is looking at like, what were last week's skills that we need to reteach, and we've trained them extensively in different strategies. So they might be using that board with the squares, right? They might be doing that same strategy, but reteaching from the prior week. They could also be using UFly or SIPs or one of these other types of tools. You know, sometimes it's as simple as like, you know, some flashcards, or they might reteach. Bridge to Read, or Heggerty also has a phonemic awareness intervention curriculum that we have them all trained on. So for the phonemic awareness component of the curriculum, they do have a more kind of condensed, designed for intervention version. They haven't come out with it for Bridge to Reading, but like I mentioned, we have some lessons that we have a lesson structure that we're using to go with Bridge to Reading that we piloted in summer school that was really successful.
That's great. And for some of those students that do get pulled out or that are falling behind, and as we give them additional Acadience tests, we are seeing, you know, that would be a really good data piece too, to see like, hey, we've got these kids that we knew were at risk, like what percentage of those kids, after we did all of the things that you were talking about, moved up to here. And so we can see if that's really, you know. Really
yeah, so that's that data that you saw where it was like beginning of year, you know, 70 to 79. That means we moved 9% of kids out of the at-risk band. So of course, we're not happy till it's everybody.
Yeah.
But, you know, it gives us ideas of looking at those 9%, saying what did we do, what worked, what schools were those that had that growth. So of course, we dig in far deeper than just the you know, this overview that we gave you. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Trustee Anderson?
I just had one last question that reminded me, because Trustee Wagon and I went to Ray Elementary last year together, and Dr. Hogarth does a wonderful job of breaking down. She knows every single student, like these 4 need this. It would be really great to have that information. Like I just discovered this sheet, which is wonderful that we have gone up 5.3% is this 1 year. So that is really great. I would love for us to have that information similar to what Dr. Hogarth has, where, you know, of all of the schools, here's where they started at the beginning of the year, here's maybe where they are mid-year, and then the end, because it was really incredible to see, and I think that is a big accountability piece as well, that we can ensure that the kids are succeeding.
Yeah, we can definitely provide that to the board. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful work. I do have a couple of questions. I know that we were big on DGI. Is it GDI?
CGI?
CGI. Are we still using that in the classroom? Because I know we had a presentation a couple of years ago.
Yeah, CGI, it refers to like math practices, and so it is a big part with our launch of the math curriculum.
Okay.
We're in the beginning stages, so the first stage is just training on the curriculum, and then we will be going more into the best practices in math, which would include cognitively guided instruction.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then what does it look like for the students who are accelerated? How does the teacher make sure that those needs are met?
So if they, during that differentiation time or that center time, there would be activities designed for students that are already, so some students might be getting a reteach of their long vowels. Some students might already be reading
Right.
and already writing and
Right.
doing other kind of activities. So we, of course, because we're public school, we're required to teach the standards of each grade. So we have that core base. And then we have time where kids are up both above and below that standard of the grade level. And so we would do that through that differentiation time, through center time, through different strategies. Sometimes teachers will give, like in math, for example, there are, problems that are part of the curriculum, and then there's also extra challenge work they could be doing. So all those kind of strategies.
And the publisher provides these ancillary products?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful.
We don't want to keep talking about early literacy all night. Could talk all night.
Just more data at the end of the year.
Thank you.
And now we get to hear more exciting news about chronic absenteeism.
All right, good evening, everyone. Try this again. There we go. All right, good evening. Thank you so much for the introduction. We wanted to be able to come together tonight and share with you some amazing news and regarding our attendance. And so tonight you have myself, our Assistant Superintendent of Secondary. We have Sarah Coley with us tonight, who is our Administrative Director of Student Services and oversees a large portion of our attendance program. And then tonight we also welcome Dr. Mina Blasey, our Director of Continuous Improvement Program Evaluation, Data and Assessment, to share some wonderful highlights this evening. You may remember that about a year ago, we stood in front of you and we talked about some of the items that we really needed to pay attention to, some of the data sets that really needed our attention. And so one of those was attendance. And so after our district, really needed to reflect on why our attendance was challenging and why our data wasn't really reflecting the district that we could be, we said we probably need to focus on attendance. And why should we focus on this? Well, we want to ensure that we know that students who attend school regularly, students who are connected, and students who have relationships demonstrate higher academic achievement. We know that attendance, showing up and being present, actually is a skill for long-term success. It translates into the workforce, into our lives, and so encouraging young people to show up for their school and show up to be educated is important. We know that career readiness is a component, and we've talked many a times and had many presentations about our career and technical education programs and industry and how important it is that students become connected and understand that attending and being present for that work is so important. And that will help them thrive in their future, in their jobs, and in their careers. We talk about community impact. When students aren't in school, what are they doing? Good question. And sometimes our community lets us know that, right? When we have students who aren't present in school, who are not making the best decisions, we know they're not bettering themselves when they're outside of the school. And so the community impact is significant. And so again, attendance is important for us to be able to focus and bring those students in and having a culture of belonging so they want to be present. We need to pay attention to early intervention. You heard tonight our first presentation about early literacy. We can't get kids to read if they're not in school. And littles not in school is different than bigger students not in school because that's where the early developmental pieces come into play and how important it is for them to be in the classroom in that early learning space. And so early intervention is critical for us. And then ultimately, what Jeff Trader likes us to focus on is resource allocation, which is ensuring that how we are spending our money and really investing our personnel, our energy, and our connections, are they making sense? Is this really where we need to be paying attention to? And we say yes when it comes to attendance. And so I'm going to turn this over to Sarah Coley because you may remember we wanted to talk about reducing our chronic absenteeism rates about a year ago.
All right, so thank you. So we thought it would be important just to revisit some kind of definitions and just ways that we look at attendance. And so when we're talking about chronic absenteeism, we're talking about any type of absence. So it can be an excused absence, an unexcused absence, a suspension. It's really any time a student is not in school versus a truancy, which is when we don't know where a student is and we don't have a reason for their absence. So to give you kind of an idea of it, if we have had 50 days of instruction and a student has missed 5 of those days for any reason, they are considered chronically absent. And so it's really important to us to be able to quantify this so that we can get ahead of it and also be looking at indicators as they're approaching their chronic absenteeism that maybe we can provide some of this early intervention. Okay. So when we look at the timeline for what we've done to focus on our attendance, as we've shared before, back in February of 2023, we really started to do a deep dive on what are we doing. And so looking at the site notifications of our additional targeted support, we had some required improvement that we had to do, but we also knew as a district that we really had to pivot and improve our culture around attendance and why students should be in school. And so as we progressed through the spring of 2023 and into the summer, we really took some time to really analyze our data and to do some reflection, and then really started last year strong. And so last year we began with our attendance campaign. We had our alternative to suspension program. We also launched our A2A program, which is the platform that was generating the attendance letters and also really starting to look at and give us a visual representation of our data. We did a first pass to update our ARIES codes that hadn't been updated in a long time, and then also really looked at independent study and alternatives to educate students when they weren't in school. As we wrapped up the year, we started to look at school planning. We did some input sessions and then started to analyze the data and again, really reflecting on what we had done this past year. And then this summer, again, looked at our attendance codes and realized that there was some additional refinement that we needed to make just to make it easier and more understandable for those who are taking attendance so that our attendance is really accurate, because we realized that we had too many codes, and with that we started to have a lot of really interesting data come from that. And so from there, now that we've refined it, we feel really great about this year and gathering some really great quality data. We reflected on the close of the year, as well as, again, evaluated our data that we did have and what led to our improvement. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Blasey to talk about some of our great data.
So I pose a question. Are we getting better? From 2022-23 to 2023-24, the chronic absenteeism count, the difference was about 1,600 students. We decreased by 1,600 students. Last year, compared to the year before compared to this year, the chronic absenteeism rate was 21.2% and is now 12.86%. What does that mean? It means we improved. It means that we decreased by a projected 8.34% rate improvement, which is absolutely, we improved. And this, what's noteworthy to discuss is that the higher absenteeism rate in 2022-23 could have been influenced by COVID policies. And while the partnerships with families really helped communicate the positive education in our system and what we're doing to connect with the families. So again, did we improve? Here's the proof. All zones improved. All elementary and comprehensive high schools saw improvement. 97% of all schools increased attendance and saw a decrease in chronic attendance rates. 38% of schools achieved a double-digit decrease in chronic absenteeism, and the district is predicting a decrease in 8% chronic absenteeism overall.
Those are some significant gains to think about where we were 2 years ago to where we are at the close of last year. We know that when we focus, when we invest, and we pay attention to things that need to be improved, we can do that. And the data that you're going to see come out of the state level will definitely demonstrate that. We have 32 schools, and we didn't want to put everything on one slide. So we did a little smidge of a highlight and a spotlight. So if you look at this slide, you'll see by zone some of our bigger winners. And you will see that it's representative of all zones, which is so wonderful, because one of the things that we did take a deep dive into was not only as a district, what is our chronic absenteeism rate, but we actually have the ability to pull it by school and then by zone. So we can really start to work with our zone principals and talk about what are some of the strategies to continuously improve that chronic absenteeism rate. So you'll see we have some really big winners in there, and you'll see, for example, in the Harbor Zone, Newport-L at 19%. That's fantastic. Personally proud of Back Bay High School for students in alternative ed who struggle to attend on a regular basis and face so many challenges. We were able to improve that by 16%. Adams at 17, and Lincoln at 13. So, again, every school, with the exception of our independent study program, saw significant gains. And so we're very, very proud of that work.
So it's always exciting when we try things and we see that it worked. So we're really proud of the work that we did last year, really starting first with our parents and providing support to our parents and our families. And so what this looks like is finding ways for us to reduce barriers and to promote positive attendance for our students, and then also looking at those partnerships that we have to support our families, whether it be basic needs, food resources, and so forth, but really finding ways to work closely with our families to get students back to school and staying in school. Working closely with our principals, as well as providing support and training to our attendance staff. This last year, we started to provide some more intensive training to them because they're the ones who are taking the attendance. And so we want to make sure that they're feeling supported and valued in the work that they're doing. As you saw, we had our district campaign. So as a district, we're putting a message out there that attendance is important and that we see you and that we want you to be in school. We had our first year again of A2A. We tried our alternative to suspension program, which was very successful, and we were able to not only support students who had made some bad choices, but also to recoup some of that attendance instead of them being suspended from school. We had our independent study contracts, which were, again, very successful for families who may be doing things such as traveling, but they still want to make sure that their students are staying on pace, and we're still able to give them a credit for their attendance. And in addition to that, and to kind of wrap up, we had our SARB that we moved to the Melinda Hoag Center. And so instead of having to tell parents to go there to get support and resources, we were able to provide it to them directly while they were there, just by walking across the hallway, which is really exciting.
So this is one of my favorite graphics. I fell in love with the way that the data reporting works with A2A. They're a company that we partnered with to help us really formulate and provide us with detailed information regarding attendance, and it's very specific. And so what you see in this slide is exactly what you think: green, yellow, and red. Green is go, fantastic. Yellow is good, and red needs a little bit of improvement. So as a district, again, you may remember a year ago us talking about us really paying attention to when kids miss and why. And we continue to do a deep dive with our principals to learn more about attendance patterns and how we can help families understand the importance of being present. But you will see that we start strong. And we finish okay. It's a game of red light, green light over there in June. But, what I think we learned from this is kind of what we knew, but, we have some struggles with Mondays and Fridays, which, okay, we live by the beach, I get it. We have some troubles before a holiday and after a holiday. So that helps us, though, as a district, to message with our families. Let's focus on when we know people are going to be gone. Let's start talking with families early. Last year, we did some wonderful work, and I will use Newport-L as an example because Mrs. Estrada had said, a lot of kids like to go on vacation, right? And, they had some travel plans. And so we really worked with that school to ensure that families knew that they could have that independent study contract if they needed it. That's what we want to start talking about. We're not trying to take away opportunities from families. We just want you to be smarter about it and make sure that your student's not missing that learning while they're gone. So we have this available for last school year, which is what you're looking at. We also have this available by zone, by school. We'll be continuing to share this at our PK-12 meetings to really dig into it. Ultimately, when I look at this and when I had my first response, I think I would be so satisfied if every month kind of looked like January I think that's a real good representation of what you'd want to see. A little bit of green, a little bit of yellow. You know, October looks fantastic. That's a great month. Came in strong. So if we could get our schools to look something like that, I think we'd be in great shape. Additionally, just one other thing I wanted to point out on this is we were looking at it today, Dr. Blasey and I, and we were talking about how May, you know, that's such a big month for our students. We have SBAC testing happening for high schools. We have everything testing happening, and we got to ensure their participation and they're jumping into that, and that, you know, they're staying focused towards the end of the year. So just some great data for us to look at.
So as we shared, we were busy at work last year. So we had shared previously that we had our attendance handbook that was in draft. It's finalized now, which is great, and is a resource for our site staff. We have a variety of ways that we can provide interventions to students. Again, the Tier 1, the Tier 2, the Tier 3 level. Really, the Tier 1 is just really getting to know our students and our families and understanding, you know, what are they about and why is school important? And then Tier 2 is, you know, we're starting to notice some issues. And so we really want to provide some early intervention to try to get our students back into school as they're approaching chronic absenteeism. And then our Tier 3 is going to be our more intensive intervention. It's going to be things like SARB. It's going to be things like more frequent interactions with the families. As we shared as well, we had sites that were busy at work last year too, so we had a lot of site activities that focused around attendance. We also had our district campaign with Start, Stay, Finish Strong, that we still have the banners that are posted up at the school sites. We still have a lot of that information out there. We had our social media campaign as well as our postcard campaign. So there was really no way for us to miss you. We would get you by mail, we'd get you by email, we'll also get you on social media. And then we also have our door hangers. So when a family goes out and we may have missed them, we're doing a home visit, we'll leave a door hanger for them just to say, hey, we missed you, we stopped by, can you please give us a call? We'd love to chat with you. So looking ahead, so we are excited this year to continue this work and using our elementary counselors. You know, last year we had a lot coming at them, and so we kind of were wanting to give them just a smidge of a break last year, but this year we're starting off strong with them, helping really to focus on attendance. They know some of our students the best, and so really utilizing them to provide that support on site. We have our secondary admin interns who are working closely with attendance interventions and looking at that data. We've also expanded our social work position. So as you may know, we added a social worker specifically to support our alternative education site. And so they'll be working with Monte Vista, Back Bay, as well as Early College, which 2 of the 3 are schools that we really want to focus on attendance because they tend to have the most challenges. Our site-based interventions. And so this year, you know, we've made a message, we've put a message out there that the district believes that attendance is important. And this year it's really focusing on that site level. So again, removing barriers together, supporting each other, looking at things like school refusal and why does a student maybe not want to come to school, things like anxiety, maybe other mental health concerns. We also are going to be doing more attendance meeting collaborations with support from the district. We also have revamped our home visit process, and we'll be getting that launched early this year. And then we're also leveraging Monte Vista and our alternative to suspension program for our secondary students. So with that, questions. Thank you.
Lots of questions coming your way. All right. Barto was first, then we had Osoyu and Wygan. In that order. Okay.
Thank you. So, quick question on the May. Would we be able to slice and dice that by secondary versus elementary? I know we experienced the impact of that festival season at many of our high schools.
Yes,
And
the 3 Cs. Yes, we can. And we do have that data by school and by zone, and it's separated out by elementary and secondary. We have it sliced a bunch of different ways.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think both anecdotally and, you know, practically, I think we can safely say that Coachella and Stagecoach impacted at least one of our high schools in the month of May.
Absolutely.
And then my other one thing was, I thank you very much for this intervention sheet. I had a student who struggled with attendance, and let me tell you, it was really convincing actually to give to him, to show him what the different reasons for attending and why. So I think that the more we can widely distribute this to families, if a 13-year-old can really get an impact from this sheet, I think it will go much further with their parents. Thank you for that. And then last thing is, I love the door hangers, and maybe we could get those to parents to put them on kids' doors. If their student,
We'll make you one.
That's a great idea, actually. Just so, I think it's important for parents to know that, like, school cares, but I think it's important for students to know that their absence is noted in their teachers' care, because I think particularly in those secondary years, we see it in our data too, like what your connection is to the school site. So I love these, and I think this is such a great thing that we could maybe expand on further that would help with the students who maybe don't feel that connection to school and are struggling to attend. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I just first want to give a shout out to Wes, the district, whoever hired Dr. Blasey. So thank you so much for having a data analyst at the district. This makes me so happy. So thank you, and I'm hoping we can tackle healthy kids data after this. But good job on this one. This is great, and I would just caution us not to get too harsh on November to February data, because frankly, that's flu, COVID, RSV season. So you don't want everyone showing up sick and getting everyone else sicker. So, I mean, those months, like, it is what it is. It's reality. Like, I think we still want the message to be, parents, if your kid is hacking up a lung, please keep them home. They don't need to be coming into class. They don't need to feel pressured that they're going to miss a test and they have to come in. That's something that I don't think we want the pendulum to go all the way that way. But I do think March and May has a lot of opportunity for getting people excited to just keep coming to the finish line, especially if there's a lot of testing taking place. So maybe some kind of PR campaign around March and May, whatever you need to do to get them to finish strong, but to not be too harsh on ourselves for the winter months, because that's just reality. But thank you so much for all this.
Trustee Wygant.
Yes, I just have, I have a clarification question. So when you put up the zone highlights, these numbers are not a decrease in their rate. This is their absentee rate?
So the question is the 13.
Is that how much they
That
improved?
is how much they
decreased. Decreased.
So
Okay.
Decreased their chronic absence.
Yeah, it's negative. You have to think kind of negative,
Okay,
right?
so
Because you want to go
that's
down.
not a dash, that is a negative. Got it, okay. Got it. And then another question, independent study. So if you have a family that does, take a week off or whatever, that the independent study, or they're very sick or something like that, it does not count against any kind of absentee rate at that school, correct?
Correct. They get 15 days per contract.
Okay.
Per
so-
year. So they can take a vacation for up to 15 days. They could also use it for illness. And that wouldn't count against them as long as the student does their work while they're out.
Okay.
And just as a side note, Monte Vista opened yesterday at Presidio with 105 students, when typically we would have about 30. And yesterday I had to leave. She said, "Can you go? Because I have so many requests in my inbox for students to attend." She needed to get through all of them so students could be enrolled by the end of the week. So that's a tremendous investment that the board has made in that program, because it really has served a group of students who were school refusal or health related, that really didn't feel like they had a voice or a way to be able to be educated. And so I was just amazed yesterday when I saw that 105 kids on day one.
Do you mind if I do a follow-up, because it's on that same subject? So are those students that were not students that were enrolled in our schools that are coming from homeschooling, or is it?
We have a variety. We have students who are within our schools who were school refusal, who couldn't make it to a comprehensive high school or middle school. So they came from us. We have had families who've come from homeschool or private, who feel like this is a better way for their students to be educated. And then we've had some that rolled on from the first year that we had it and continue to roll up. But yeah, we have a wide variety.
I think it's always great to see at graduation for the Monte Vista students, and then you're just so grateful, and their families are so grateful that they've made it across the finish line. And then I just wanted to give Annette in the PIO office a really good plug on a lot of times in marketing campaigns, you can't really measure the results, as they say, but these are measurable. And so that's really huge that we can see the benefits of all of our outreach efforts. So congratulations.
Thank you. And then Dr. Blasey prepared a one-page handout. I'll let her explain that.
So I know you have two of them, and so the one-page handout, the encouraging attendance within our schools, these are spotlighted schools. And there are plenty other ones, but this basically is showcasing schools that we're proud of them all, but just some information, and if you take a moment, you'll notice that it really aligns great with, there are two schools that I really want to highlight. It's for kinder, first, and second grade, and they're also here, Lincoln and Ray. So when students come to school, we can see that their literacy will improve and their academics will improve. And there are other ones as well. I just wanted to really showcase that's that work that our elementary and early literacy team, along with the attendance, this is profound.
Any other questions? All right, I do have a question. I do know that chronic absenteeism is a state concern. And because I know we've gone to conferences and they've discussed that as a concern. Where do we rank? I mean, I know we've improved 8%, but how do we rank statewide or even district, county-wide with where we stand as far as ranking?
So that's a great question. The information that you have is local data.
Okay.
On the California Department of Education on DataQuest, that information is from 2022-23. That's public data.
Mm-hmm.
These are predictions. So that data will come out. It typically comes out on DataQuest in March or April. Okay. And we can have those conversations about how, and we can definitely bring that to you as well.
Yes, please.
And it will become public in the dashboard in December.
Right.
And we usually then look at how other people are doing on the dashboard. So we can so we know relatively.
Exactly.
I mean, it is a really important point.
Yeah.
We're very proud of where we are. If everybody's like double digit, we'll be a little like, wah, wah. But we'll be happy, but just not as happy as we are right now.
Yeah.
Blissfully ignorant. But so we will be able to compare ourselves in December when the dashboard comes out, and we'll be able to see relatively to our county and other people we compare ourselves, other districts like us,
similar
how other
districts.
people are doing. But what we know right now is when principals leaned in, when staff leaned in, we were able to make a difference, and a pretty significant difference.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And in the interest of the public, we do have these sheets available at the back of the room. So if you want to grab one as you leave for some evening reading after this meeting. All right. Well, thank you so much. Excellent. We look forward to encouraging news moving forward.
And those one-pagers, we'd like to thank CTE for setting a very high bar for us to have those data one-pagers, so we'll keep following them.
We love those.
And we will find a house for them on our website. We're not sure yet, but we will house them so anybody can see them at any time.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on to consent calendar. Item 16, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Trustee Wygand,
Second.
and with a second by Trustee Ersoylu. Roll call, please.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Wygand?
Yes.
Trustee Ersoylu?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
All right, the vote is unanimous. And we move on to discussion action calendar, item 17A, approve AP textbook adoption. Mrs. Torres?
Sorry about that. I was just taking some notes really quickly. You may remember that we brought forward the item to be able to approve the purchase of new AP textbooks. They're not new in content, they're just the new version or new edition. And we have had no public information or comments related to this text while we had the open viewing, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve 17A?
So moved.
Trustee Ersoylu, and a second by Trustee Murphy, or Barto?
Murphy?
Okay, Murphy. Roll call, please.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Wygand?
Yes.
Trustee Ersoylu?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. 17B, approve award of bid number 13224 to Everon LLC, FKA ADT Commercial, LLC for security camera systems and integration. Mr. Trader.
One of the board's priorities that you've asked us to move on is to provide enhanced camera systems at the sites, and Mr. Lance Bidnick, our Director of Maintenance and Operations, has a quick status update for you.
Hey, good evening. Do we have a PowerPoint? All right. Good evening, President Crane, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Smith, and staff. Very excited to have this before you tonight for your consideration. This is the award of contract to Everon for the installation of security cameras at all of our school sites. If you recall, the facility master plan presentation that was presented to you by Ms. De La Sol and the DLR group highlighted the OCIAC report for physical safety security improvements at our schools, listing surveillance cameras and active monitoring as one of the priorities for security systems at our schools. We started this process a while ago trying to identify and declare a standard for a unified security platform. Now, what a unified security platform would give us is not only consistency throughout all of our school sites, such that we would not be subject to the whims of a low bidder, but it'll also make sure that all of our electronic security systems work together. So that would be electronic access control or surveillance cameras, and we'd be able to use each one to leverage against each itself to improve the security function for all of our schools. This project, and this is where I have to be really careful not to get too excited about talking about what this system is capable of. Our focus is providing perimeter and campus security and monitoring, active monitoring and surveillance at all of our campuses. Using artificial intelligence to provide the active monitoring, we can program events to action for certain events at the school sites. For instance, if we have an after-hours intruder at our schools, the cameras use the analytics to positively identify it as a person, not as a light or a shadow or leaves blowing about the campus. And it can send an alert to our response team. After hours, for example, we can send it to our after-hours security team, and then they can respond to the school site to make sure that the intruder is removed. It can also play a recording, a local recording, identifying that the person is trespassing and that the authorities have been notified and please vacate the property. During school, events could include things like surge events. So the artificial intelligence will recognize certain traffic patterns of students. So if the students are typically walk in a certain direction for arrival or dismissal, and all of a sudden it detects that several students are moving rapidly in the opposite direction that they should be, it'll detect that anomaly and alert the crisis reporting team. Some other features that the system has, we have the license plate recognition, so we can detect vehicles entering our campuses. And then another one is the firearm and gunshot detection. And this is an early warning device if the system using artificial intelligence detects a firearm or can listen for and hears a gunshot, then a notice will be sent out to the emergency response team, which not only is at the site-based crisis alert team, but also the district level. Because it's a unified platform used in conjunction with the other systems that we have, like lobby security or electronic access control, we can do things like initiate a lockdown, send out alerts, things like that. So really powerful system using artificial intelligence and analytics to help bolster our security. Also recognizing that this is artificial intelligence and it's not foolproof. So this is a big tool in our toolbox, but it's not the end-all be-all. So there's still a human component that's going to be needed for security. I'm sorry, I did not advance that slide. Our bidding is concluded, and tonight before you for consideration is the award to Everon, qualified contractor certified with Genetec and Bosch, our security partners. We have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for Thursday pending your approval of this contract. The first step will be getting a calendar from the contractor to perform site visits. And this will be to verify camera placement and locations, meet with each site principal as we get to the school site to verify that, or receive input for camera placement from the principals to make sure that the campus is secured. Once we have the verification of camera placement, We will be installing all of the server equipment and recording here at the central location, and then all of the cameras will be installed at the school sites. Part of this, we do have redundancy built into the system. We do have capacity for expansion. We do have training and commissioning built into this project as well. With that, I'd take any questions.
Trustee Barto and then Wygant.
This is amazing. Thank you. How are we integrating this with like police response?
So depending on what our response protocol will be, if it's during school hours, if we choose that the local law enforcement would be part of a lockdown notification, we could follow existing policies and procedures for notifying or sending the notification to local law enforcement. As I said, when an event is detected and the alert goes out, it goes to whoever we tell it to, whether by email or by text, and along with either an image or a camera clip showing what the activity is. And then the notification could go out to partners in law enforcement, private security, or our own district alert team, risk management, or Dr. Jocum's team.
Okay. And then the other question is it capable, I mean, I know it's AI, but is it like learning? Just because from about now until mid-September and then starting like mid-May to the end of the school year, there's a lot of fireworks like constantly, and those could sound like a lot of things. Does it have an ability to distinguish, or I mean, if we get a bunch of erroneous alarms, I'd rather err on the side of safety, but does it have the ability to pick those out?
I'm not 100% sure about the fireworks question, but the question about false alarms does come up because with either the firearm detection, for example, a concealed firearm, it wouldn't be able to detect. We would get too many flags for false alarms. I can get more information on the fireworks question, but the question about false alarms did come up because we don't want to condition the program to start ignoring certain things when something important could come up.
Yeah, thank you. I would love to know about the fireworks because it's kind of a constant.
That was going to be my question.
My understanding with how that gunshot detection system works is if it detects the noise within a certain radius of the camera, and the fireworks would be beyond what that range is, but I'd have to get more confirmation on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This is awesome. Yeah, this is awesome. We asked for some form of monitoring on campus, and we as a board thought, hey, cameras are great, but it needs to be active monitored, or else it's no good. So really appreciate finding this ADT, their commercial business. I have a question on, we have some say play areas that are not fully gated in, and will this provide that extra set of eyes during that playtime?
So for instance is we have a pan zoom tilt camera at one of our schools where there's an unsecured or unsupervised back gate that the community has habitually used to access the school site. That camera will detect the motion, follow the individual, and sends the feed to whoever's monitoring the system. So it'll send a notification, for example, to the office or to the alert crisis team.
Okay.
Alerting them that you have an intruder, and then the camera will follow them so they'll see what the intruder is doing. Okay. The same concept could be applied to the play yards. As long as it's within the view of the camera, we can program different events to action. So it would do a variety of things depending on what the situation called for.
Okay. And then is this data and the monitoring the videos housed for a certain time period, or are we going to do indefinitely? I mean, you don't have to say it now, but just say like.
Their storage is very expensive, and so typically 30 days is a pretty standard storage number. The longer you store, the more space you're going to need, and the cost goes up pretty sharply.
Okay.
So we're going with pretty industry standard storage times.
Okay. Gotcha. And that, I mean, if you're actively monitoring it, you would know in that 30-day window which ones you would want to then save forever or pull out from from other sites.
Correct. We do have the ability to archive the footage as well, using different programs to export. Being very careful to adhere to our board policies for sharing camera footage and retaining the camera footage. But yes, we could remove and save footage as needed.
Thank you. I mean, I think a lot of parents can, take a deep breath on knowing that this will be there. So thank you.
So I have a few questions. One is, what's the vision of the district as far as timeline? Is it going to be done in phases? How's it going to roll out?
So I'm going to be working with Executive Cabinet through Jeff Trader on the prioritization for rolling it out to the school sites to determine which schools will be priority. The rest of that, the contractor has 45 days to visit the school sites after award of contract. So they'll be going to the schools to verify camera placement, and then they have another, I believe, 20 days after that to provide, start providing reports for school site verification. Meanwhile, the servers can start to be installed here at the district office, and then the contractor can get mobilized to start installing wiring and cabling for the camera systems.
Okay.
We have February 1st as our contract completion date that we're requesting from the contractor.
Okay. So next then, installation. The installation of the cameras, will that at all affect learning in the classrooms or anything like that, or is it done after hours?
It's completely done after hours, on weekends, and overnight. So contractors are required to clean up and make sure the classrooms are ready for school the following day, not to disrupt any of the teaching materials or student materials in the classroom, but because of the timing of the project and doing it during the school year, it'll have to happen after school hours.
Okay, and then as far as oversight, the whole active, what's it called? Active monitoring and everything, is it going to require any extra staffing?
It will not require extra staffing to the level that we are anticipating right now. So the system actually streamlines the process to find footage. So if, for example, a window is broken at a school site, it'll take whatever amount of recording data and hone in on the moment when that image changed or when that glass was broken. And we can go from we did this at one of our schools where we went from a 48-hour recording period down to a 5-second window. And it took us all of 30 seconds. So it actually streamlines our ability to be able to find recorded information. And then we also have the ability to bookmark and create incidents. So we can, if multiple incidents are caught on multiple cameras, or the one incident is caught on multiple cameras, we can stitch all of those cameras together to create an incident and tag that to be exported through our district personnel.
So how about the site leadership? Are the principals kind of in charge of sort of keeping an eye on that as well, or is it just all centralized here?
The recording and everything will be centralized here. The sharing and exporting of information will also be centralized with district level staff. Access to the system and being able to look at archive footage would be accessible to the site administration. So the site principals could see the live and archive footage, but they wouldn't be able to export it and share it.
Okay, 2 more questions. One is, have you visited any other districts that have a similar product so that we can make sure that it works before we go all in?
So my previous district, Anaheim Union High School District, we embarked on a similar endeavor. And whereas we started from the system platform and start working down, in Anaheim we were working from the individual systems and working up. The problem is that's the more common approach because school districts have probably gone through and installed a security camera and then decided they wanted to install access control, and then trying to get all of these things to communicate with each other is challenging. Taking the approach that we took, it's a little bit more streamlined, or much more streamlined actually. We're making sure everything works together first, and then we're putting the pieces together in under the unified platform. I have not seen this specific program in action, but Genetech is the security provider that's working with the City of Los Angeles for the 2028 Olympics. So they are a major player.
Okay, and then lastly, the issue of privacy, is that anything that we need to be concerned about? Because I know whenever you say cameras, minors, and all that, can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I can speak on a few different topics on the privacy. One is the artificial intelligence and analytics does have the ability to mask faces. So we don't need to go in and manually do that. We can tell it to mask faces of people that we don't want to share. The other is keeping a tight control on our policy and making sure that we limit who has the ability to share that footage and making sure that that's in line with what our board policy is.
Okay, I think I'm done with my questions.
All right, those are good.
All right, thank you. So, did we do the motion?
Thank you.
No. All right, so do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, trustee Wygand made the motion and trustee Barto second. Ursulou, it's hard, okay. Ursulou seconded, roll call vote,
Trustee Crane?
yes.
Trustee Wygand?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. 17C, first review of the revised Newport-Mesa Unified School District Board Policies, Index 12 to 18, Newport-Mesa Unified School District Board 4000 Series. Dr. Smith, personnel.
You and the public will recall last month we completed most of the policies for our global adoption with the help of the California School Boards Association, their attorneys, and all of us. The HR files required assistance from all the other departments who were working on those 400 plus policies. So we staged them a little bit differently. Those are now complete, and we're going through the same process we went through before. I will add that already we've had some feedback on policy 4113, just making sure that we identified the district will collect this data on teacher assignments where the percentage of full credentials versus waivers, et cetera. So we make sure that that's balanced, and that's an easy adjustment. As we get those adjustments, we'll certainly bring those back for second read and adoption for your consideration at the board meeting.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved. Wait, sorry, we're just voting for the first read, right? Okay. Awesome.
Are we just receiving it though?
Just receiving.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do
we need to
have vote?
It's a motion
Just to
Just
receive.
to receive it?
to receive it. Yeah. So we have a motion by trustee Wygand, and do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, roll call vote,
Trustee Crane?
yes.
Trustee Wygand?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
All right, motion passes for the first reading. 17D, the first reading and adoption of modifications to board policy. Dr. Smith?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we have a process here in this district where we have a policy committee that does a first read on behalf of the board, brings back those edits for the board to consider second read and adoption at the meeting. So we don't often receive them and vote to receive them, which is standard for a lot of other districts. I think that's where the confusion is. This next one, though, goes through our typical process and started with the policy committee. Boards are reorganized each year, and policy allows for you to identify how board leadership is reorganized. A lot of places just leave it to chance, and as we've seen here at the dais, people just go through a process, sometimes multiple rounds, and that can work. But our trustees said there's a better way. Let's be organized in our approach. Let's have this be structured so we get here and we know how that works. And so before you, you have what the policy committee has worked on as a second read for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions? Should we do a motion first? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Okay, so that was Murphy and a second by Wygand.
Second.
All right, trustee Murphy made the motion and trustee Wygand seconded it. Do we have any discussion, questions on the policy? Okay, trustee Murphy and then trustee Barto in that order.
I would like to make a motion to waive the second reading and just approve policy.
Okay,
That's
so
what
that's,
this does.
Will this do that completely? So this is our last vote?
Yes, this
Okay.
is, yeah, that's, I was trying to make the distinction between what we do, which is
first reading,
this,
second reading. This is a second.
as opposed to the last one.
Well, you
which was
said
the
second
first.
read and I was like, wait a minute, I thought this was first read.
So
Never
the
mind.
motion in the second would adopt this policy.
Then never mind.
So, but I think Trustee Barton had a comment.
I mean, I really appreciate that we're trying to make things fair because I think that this has been contentious in the past, so I appreciate that, and I love that we're trying to make sure that leadership is spread out amongst the zones. My concerns are in the situation where you end up with a newly elected trustee who ends up as president the first round. I don't, especially since the new trustee would be in control of the agenda. I don't think that's a really big concern for me because it's nice to have a couple of years under your belt, at least a year before you fall into that role, is my concern. And the other concern that I have is just with it just feels like in a way this could be so much more fair, but you'd end up with almost a different climate on the board where because that person, maybe that new person was in control of the agenda, different things that maybe longstanding board members wanted to see wouldn't get on there. So that's my concern with this policy.
Well, can I address that one question?
Since you're on the policy committee.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the number one bullet point was elected or appointed least recently. So I don't think that from what I have read and what I understand on the policy, that wouldn't happen where some newly elected person just the first year would be able to be president.
I mean, that's how I read it. I read it that the person,
Does that not read that way? Or
I mean, we may have to clarify the language if you think.
Yeah, we went through this on our committee. So it's the people who are already in place. So the clerk, who's the person who would already be there before an election, would become vice president. The vice president would become president. And then the open clerk position would be filled by whoever is next. So someone who's already currently on the board was elected least recently. So it would be someone who had been on more than one year, just elected, has not served in a leadership position previously, and ensures there's at least one full representative for each city. So it wouldn't be that all three of those seats would be Newport, all three of those seats would be Costa Mesa, so there would be variety.
Yeah, that just makes sense. It's just what if the vice president is not reelected?
Right.
And then in that next rotation, so then you then have the clerk, I guess, go through?
Be president.
Be president.
You kind of skip. However, in our situation this year, actually, all three of us are up for reelection, so there actually could be a vacuum.
So in that
Right?
case.
So what happens in that case?
In that case, so then, I wouldn't moved up here, she wouldn't move to the next spot. It would then go to the next oldest, I should say, elected person.
So would it be Murphy, Pearson, Anderson? In that order?
No.
Longest sitting, yes, sorry,
Anderson.
ladies.
Now, to clarify, it would be in this imaginary scenario, it would be Murphy, Trustee Murphy, then it would be Trustee Pearson, and then it would be whomever a new person that's recently elected would be the clerk.
Oh,
Whoever
so
would be.
it wouldn't be Anderson.
Because Anderson and Bartow have already served in leadership. So the point is to funnel new individuals
Yep.
into leadership rather than kind of barring them off for
Right.
several years, as
Okay.
has happened in the past repeatedly.
While making sure there's experience at the top.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, always.
Pretty much.
The experience is my biggest concern.
It
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be
yeah.
there. It's
Um,
guaranteed to be there.
And then my other,
So does it read well? Do we need to wordsmith it so we don't, is anyone having an issue with the wording? Do we need to make it more succinct? Or we're okay that since we're discussing it in public and we all understand what that means?
I think this would be the year that we would need to just kind of reinforce it, right? Like the first year, but then I think once it becomes the norm and you just rotate up, it's not gonna be very confusing for anyone.
I mean, I would just want to, I hate to be nitpicky on this.
No, this is good conversation, please.
But I do think that like maybe we need a fourth bullet that just account, because if you're going to create a new policy, I feel like you're creating a policy for the exceptions, right? Like this is, we want to ensure that these things happen. And if you don't account for like I mean, it's, your 3 zones are up the same time every time. So it's I think we need to account for that exception as a possibility, as number 4 bullet point. And then the only other thing that I would think that could be maybe clarified is just what happens if, say, the person who is next in line to be in that leadership position didn't want to, because I mean that happens occasionally.
Right of refusal?
Yeah.
Right of refusal?
Yeah.
I think that should be an option.
We had discussed that and we thought maybe if you guys thought of it, that was a good idea, we could add, or we were just thinking that maybe we could, that was just something, an underlying thing we didn't need to write in to keep it
Do you
simple.
need to say that?
Yeah.
I mean,
But, I mean, if you think it would be, we're here at the board, who would, if you think we need to edit that and add that and it'd be more clear, I mean, sometimes when you
It
write
can't
things,
hurt.
you're a little bit too close to it, so.
It can't hurt, might as well put it so that it's clear.
I just feel like I would hate to see somebody who maybe didn't want to take it for a variety of reasons.
Personal reasons or.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
29 reasons, but
Yeah,
but didn't want to feel like they're automatically pressured into this role and didn't have the opportunity to say like, I'd like to recuse myself, because I think that happens, and I think that if you feel pressured, if you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the president next year, and like, I don't know, my husband is ill or something like that, and I want to pass that on to someone else. I don't know.
Yeah. So I think one thing to consider with that we talked through in our committee is that this really makes it more about the area leadership. So since 2000, I believe it was 18 when we went from being at large to districts. So the person would then, it could happen, but someone would be like, well, I don't want to represent my area in leadership. And so.
And see, that's my concern, is that you'd end up with someone opted themselves out, and then now you end up with the spirit of the ideas kind of.
Yeah, I mean, so it would just go to the next person in line. So that's where I think it's someone would be abdicating what should be their responsibility if someone decides to run for the board. They know, oh, okay, well, in at least the 4 years I'm on the board, I'll likely have a chance to be in a leadership position of some sort. They could either say, and in any of those, like, oh, I don't want to be the clerk. I don't want to be, people have the option to do that. But I think the point is that, there would be whoever was already on the board, those people would scoot up.
So the way that the areas down here for this, it goes like Newport, Costa Mesa, Newport, Costa Mesa, Newport, Costa Mesa. So then, in the scenario that someone in one of those didn't, then it would be, it'd pop up to then Costa Mesa, Newport, Costa Mesa, and then the next time it'd be Newport, Costa Mesa, Newport. So it's in that rotation. However, if there is like a, like the show Designated Survivor where, there's a big wipeout, like, well, how does that work? And then maybe at that point, policy committee needs to reconvene, but.
Because I think the spirit of representation is good. I think that needs to stay. I just, those to me kind of popped out, and I want to make sure that we address both of those, because I mean, I think in the not so recent past, there have definitely been times where people were needed to really, not take on that responsibility for a variety of reasons.
So do we see the need to add language? Is that what I'm hearing or not?
I mean, if we do, we're going to have to do a second motion, so maybe we just vote, and then if people want to, then we could do a second motion,
Well, I think it would be, like, where would you want to put it? What exact
Like a number
wording
4?
would you want, rather than?
Yeah,
that
I'd do
would
it
be
like
the
a
motion.
bullet number. Well, we've already made the motion, so we could let it die,
Well,
but
no, for the next one, though.
yeah, but I would say like maybe a bullet number 4 that like is willing to serve, and just something like is willing and able to serve.
So bullet number 1 maybe? Like, meet the following criteria. 1, you're willing and able. Like, okay.
So do you want to kill this motion and and come up with new language and just adopt that one? Or do you want to just go back in committee? I'd rather do it tonight.
Let's do it tonight.
Okay.
Let's do it tonight.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
then why don't we then vote on the motion that's on the floor right now?
Yeah.
Kill it, and then we'll have a new motion. And then we'll work on the language during that. All right, so let's go ahead and vote.
Trustee Crane?
No?
Trustee Weigand?
No.
Trustee Ursulou?
Nope.
Trustee Barto?
No.
Trustee Murphy?
No.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
No.
Okay, motion fails. Do I have a new motion?
Someone from the policy committee like to do it, just because you guys have discussed it, and I'm thinking on the fly, but I think you guys get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, the reason why we did, we discussed it. The reason why we didn't include it is so if we did willing and able, well, who decides how someone's able? That's been a problem in the past. So I think I think just willing.
Yeah,
Yeah, willing side.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd leave it at willing.
Okay.
And I think it's kind of, it makes it a funny first bullet, was elected or and is willing. And it seems obvious, but I think it needs to be spelled
It
out.
should be at the top. I don't
Yeah.
think.
Then maybe
you
make
should
it
be
number
willing.
4 and
I
is
think
willing.
so.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're not
Maybe
willing
4.
to do it, you should not be running for the seat.
Is willing
Right,
to,
but I mean, like,
well,
if you're correct.
because,
You don't.
we had discussed there was personal issues sometimes that popped up.
Yeah.
So number 4, then we can read and willing to serve. Is that, okay,
Would be and is willing to serve.
and is willing to serve.
Mhm.
Okay, so, do we want to make a motion?
And did this, I'm sorry, because I'm trying to think, and I'm not very good at three-dimensional chess, but does this account for the scenario that, say, we have a completely new board for some reason?
Yeah, it does, because then
We'll
it'll
make
be
it.
relegated to Murphy,
Yes.
Pearson, and then a new person as clerk.
Yep.
Okay.
So instead of any of us being president, then Murphy would be president.
The
It
following
just shifts
criteria.
to the next recently elected.
Which would be Newport Beach, Costa Mesa kind of thing, so it works. Yeah. Okay, so also, I looked into things as if we really, if the board can oust the president if needed. So, just so you know.
Yeah.
No, because, we have to think long-term, so we do have safeguards, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And so I just wanted to share that.
And we
with
can
the
amend
board.
this later if it's
Mhm.
like,
Okay.
if it's not, but I think the spirit is clear. Sorry, give me like 10 more seconds to
Of
just
course,
run it through my
please.
head again.
So these lights here have Anderson or Sawyer, are you? Should I turn them off?
No, let's just
Okay.
explain.
So, one question now, I'm thinking about it. So say we've got us 3 out, and then you've got Murphy, Pearson, and then wouldn't it just be Ashley then, because she would be the second
No,
longest?
because she's also served already.
Right.
So then you go down that line, so then I think it's, are you 6?
But
it
is
would be
there-
whoever replaces you would become the clerk.
But there's no designation on how long do you have to be out of an office before you say not served already, because this full year she hasn't served.
No, as long as everyone up here has served as president once, then
Okay.
you begin. So she,
Oh, so everyone has
so
served.
Murphy hasn't,
just-
Lisa hasn't.
I just don't feel like that's clear because I feel,
Yeah.
because I totally understand the spirit and I think it's great. I'm afraid that I'm trying to understand the whole scenario. So if we are in a position where we have completely, say, everything changes and we have a person come into that role, how would we say, it makes sense the way you're saying it, that would make president, VP, and clerk. But right now it says that person would become the clerk. So we were saying in that meeting, that person would then become the clerk, vice president, and then the president? Just because of the way it's written.
No, like the
I
way.
think number 2 will come into effect.
Exactly. Like all of these criteria have to be met. So the rotation occurs when the open clerk position. Just think of it all being like a sausage factory that begins at the clerk and goes up. So whoever comes into the clerk position,
Would have
again,
3
if those
years and then they're
Yeah.
president, or 2 years and then they're president. So they'd have 2 years of experience.
But I
no
think
matter
your
what.
your concern is that. But I think her concern is that if like we're all gone, right? If the 3 of us are gone, so next year, then it begins though. Then the person
Well, then we
enters
know-
in the clerk and they just keep moving up, so they go to the
But
next.
then we know
farthest
for
seat.
sure who the clerk is, but but like at that same meeting, do they, if following that, at that same, just because of the way it's written,
To the
at
clerk
that
or
meeting, they'd
next
have to be,
highest,
so I think
vacant
we should amend that.
To the clerk or next highest vacant position. Yeah, I mean, to spell it out.
I mean, I
but in
hate to be like
reality-
overly
Yeah.
legalistic, but it is policy, so I feel like
go
it
ahead.
has to be clear.
Change the language to what?
To the
Before we make the
open
motion.
clerk,
Which bullet?
it's not a bullet, it's that first, the paragraph above it. Like,
Okay.
the open clerk position is to be filled, or the open, like, you just move all the way to the right, you know, like,
And that's why then it reverts to the number order, the area order. So it would be area 2, area 4. If you aren't here, Bartow, and we had to appoint somebody, it would go to 5. It would then go, if I wasn't here, to 7. If I was here, it would then go to 3. So it's the order of the areas also. It's not just the role.
About in the event that all 3 leadership positions.
So is this on the second sentence of the
Correct.
paragraph?
Okay.
Okay.
So strike the open clerk position.
Okay, so in the
Event that all 3 leadership positions are unfilled with sitting board members, sitting trustees.
okay.
The leadership order moves to support the following criteria of zone representation, subject to the following criteria. It's super legalistic, I'm sorry, but I just feel like that handles the situations.
Okay, so the leadership order moves to support.
The order of zone
maybe this should almost be a note, like under the 4 bullet points, like the clerk becomes vice, then the open clerk position is filled, meeting these criteria, and then like a note right after, in the event that all 3 leadership positions are actually vacated, then you follow the above process, but you move all the way to president, VP, clerk get filled in the same descending order.
I mean, I just hate to put notes in a policy, you know? But
Yeah, but it's not a note, it's like an in the event, like an explainer after.
If all 3 were gone, next it would be 2, which is Murphy, 4 Pearson, and then it would go to 3. The new person would be in Crane's spot. So those are all people who haven't served and are in the rotation.
Yeah, because I think the rotation actually solves the problem.
rotation
Yeah,
is
it
what?
answers the issue.
Yeah, it just needs to be clear that if
You
there's
still need a
0
president, and they'd have to
Mhm.
move all the
So-
way there.
So I just think so I'm thinking clerk becomes becomes president. The open clerk position is to be filled.
Or in the event all 3 leadership positions are open, all 3 are filled in the same manner as you would the clerk above. But you're doing all 3.
So you want to change what I wrote. In the event that all 3 leadership positions are unfilled with sitting trustees, the leadership order moves to support
The order of
the order of
The clerk order.
zone
The-
leadership.
The clerk order described above.
will support the clerk order.
Was elected or appointed least, then go.
But don't you think it's important to say zone leadership? Because we really want to make, and subject to the criteria, so that way we really are supporting that it's about.
But it's just the same criteria, that we don't want to have other words that take you away from this 4 criteria. Like, those are the criteria, and you just move further up the chain than just clerk. We
'Cause
just
it-
need a nice way to say
Yeah, because it
that.
will always say, because
Right.
3 kind of answers that zone
Exactly.
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, so
Right.
you don't want to repeat
You'll have
it.
1 full representative from Costa Mesa
Yeah.
Newport, and then.
So we can leave the zone representation language out.
Perhaps we make the beginning, the annual organizational meeting section, which is extremely important, bold. So it's not like an afterthought, like that's the main point, is note the rotation order.
But I think trustee Barto's point, like in the event that all three leadership positions are, unfilled with sitting trustees, the leadership order
Moves to support the clerk order.
follows the leadership order follows the aforementioned order.
Yeah, follows the aforementioned criteria.
Okay,
Follows the
that sounds good.
aforementioned criteria.
Did you get
Yeah.
that, Sam?
I got it.
You'll have to read it.
I got it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we'll read it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we got
Whoever,
it.
I just
yeah, I'm gonna
making
defer
it
to you
more
to read
clear,
it.
not less clear.
So, and this is going under like a, just positioned where again? 'Cause we had
Under
it
the four bullets.
under the four, okay.
Because it's in the event, like, hey, we have this the
Right.
criteria, but in the rare event that this
Yep.
thing happens,
Okay, good.
we do this.
Let's do it. Let's make the motion and then
And don't forget
Read.
the and willing.
Yes, it's just willing, not able.
Number 4,
Okay.
just is willing.
Number
Got it.
4 is willing.
Yeah.
We don't need to dispute who's able. I think
just
willing.
read this
Qualifying people.
yeah. I think we first should make the motion to introduce the new text and then read it after it's seconded.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a motion? Trustee,
Yes. So a motion to approve the amended, is that what I said?
Yeah.
Okay. The amended policy for bylaw 9100. Do I read all the changes or the whole thing? Just this change?
I say,
With the following changes? Okay. With the following amendments, that following bullet point 3, we add a bullet point 4
Yes.
that says, and is willing to serve, and is willing to serve. And then following that,
inserting.
we insert, in the event that all 3 leadership positions are unfilled with sitting trustees, the leadership order follows the aforementioned criteria. And then you wanted something bolded, Trustee Anderson?
Yeah, the beginning, because I think we should put that as a bullet and the for example as a bullet because they're like kind of the qualifiers, they're separate a little bit. The beginning thing to me is the most important. It's kind of languishing on the bottom. Just want to make sure it's clear.
I'm good with how it's standing, just so that we don't
Yeah.
change too much, because we could bold it if you'd like, but
Because
But
it
then
says,
if it's printed, it's not always going to be bold.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
because it says at the annual organization meeting, it says that at the top, so I think it's okay as,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just as is. It's all here, and that's the
Okay,
important
so-
part.
That's the
So
motion.
so we have a motion, do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
As stated, okay. Trustee Wygand, and ready for vote.
Trustee Crane?
Yes.
Trustee Weigand?
Yes.
Trustee Ursulou?
Yes.
Trustee Barto?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Pearson? Trustee Anderson?
Yes.
All right, so the new amended policy passes. Good job, everyone. And we move on to informal reports. Superintendent.
Yeah, just quick commentary. I think it's so important that the board realizes its role to set policy for the district that helps us not only do the work, but govern. So kudos to all of you for investing that time. There's so much to talk about, but I'm going to be focused today on some folks that helped us open doors Monday morning, bright and early. We had, because of growing TK expansion in some of our schools, the need to do some construction. And you can't do that construction when the kiddos are around. So the first day after school ended, we started moving construction teams in. They didn't stop all summer. Our team said, we will be ready when the students come back. And it took all of that time. In fact, over the weekend, there were teams working around the clock, and that's not hyperbole, literally getting notes at 4 in the morning in the dark, people doing the work so that we could open the classrooms. I just want to give a shout out to folks and make sure that their names are on record. Jeff Trader was there rolling up his sleeves. doing the work with folks. They just call him Jeff now. He's just Jeff out there in the district. Ara was, doing work herself, rolling up her sleeve, not just directing people, grabbing shovels, doing the work, communicating with cabinet throughout. Lance, once again, said he's never sweat so much in his life. I'll take his word on that. I don't have photos of him at the gym, but I have photos of him doing the work with the team. Awesome. And folks had to be there pulling wires, waiting for things to be ready so they could do that. So when teachers got into the classrooms, they could teach, and they had the tools they needed. Hector and his team that were roving, they were magicians, again, all night, from site to site, moving around, getting this done. Why does it matter? Monday, I walked through 6 different campuses, went through one of our new teachers' classroom, and it was one of the newly constructed rooms. And she said, yesterday at noon, I didn't think there was any chance. This was Sunday at noon. This was going to be ready. She goes, it's ready. She goes, but at the last minute, I'm getting ready to welcome my kids, and my camera's projecting upside down, my projector. So I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't have a remote or anything. And I saw Awesome walking by. And I said, hey, is there any way you can fix this? He had a remote. And he just hit it, boop, boop, boop. Next thing I know, it's upright, and I can welcome my kids, right? We welcomed a ton of happy students. For all of the dust, our kids were extremely happy to be there. They were learning. They were engaged. They were smiling. They were playing on our temporary playgrounds because you've prioritized shade structures and even shaded play areas for our young ones, right? For our littles, as we call them. So we're doing that also, right? Kids were smiling. They were learning. They were safe. I just have to give a huge shout out to our team and everyone that helped support them. Wouldn't have happened without you. So big, big, big thank you.
Trustees, anyone wants to go first? I usually have you kind of go down the line. Okay, Trustee Wygan.
Okay.
Go.
All right, I made eye contact. You're not supposed to do that in class. All right. Well, I just want to thank you all for making the start of the school year, amazing. It's so great to see so many happy faces, and obviously our teachers are very happy, and our certificate staff, classified staff is all very supportive of our kids this beginning of the year. So I'm just so happy that it all worked out and no hurricanes or whatever we had, the torrential downpour last year. Yeah. But one thing I do want to talk about is the resource fair that was, we're still in August, right? Yeah, so it's beginning of August. And it was so heartwarming to see actually cabinet here. And you guys, I know some of you live in our area, some of you don't, but you really cared about every student that came in and have support to start the new year. It was like, I'm getting chills talking about it because it was so wonderful to just see that, like, we have such an amazing group of people that really care about our whole entire our school district. And I don't know why anyways, yeah, it was great. Let's just say that. I'm back on. But yeah, it was just wonderful and heartwarming, and just to see everyone. And I got there probably an hour after it opened, and they said, oh, we've already served 1,500 students. And that was amazing. So that was really heartwarming. Glad to be here. Glad to be part of this district. Thank you.
Hopefully be here in 3 months.
Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time of year, so it was really great to see all the staff at the back-to-school lunch, and that was just a nice opportunity. And this past weekend, I stopped over at Estancia and was helping one of the teachers set her room up. So all the teachers are so dedicated, and they're just like, they're on the weekend, like their whole weekend, getting everything ready. So thank you to everybody that did all the things.
Thank you. We took a family trip right before the end of school, which I'm never going to do again because it's too close to the end of the school year. But I just want to thank all of the teachers and M&O, and just, it was such a wonderful start to the school year. And as a trustee, I usually hear a ton of things from people, and I heard nothing but great things. So that's a really huge testament to how great of a job we did. And then at my own house, I had 4 kids who were happy to go to school, and the care with which each and every counselor put into and the thoughtfulness that they put into their schedules is so appreciated, not just for my own kids, but many other people I talked to who, had a special interest, and they were thankful that there was a new class, and their counselor reached out to them a couple weeks and said, hey, I know you're interested. With the volume of students these counselors have to take care of, and the fact that they were so thoughtful towards multiple families that I heard from, not just my own children, I'm really grateful for that, because that just, people take such pride in their work at Newport-Mesa, so it's an honor to be part of it.
I would ditto on that, since I ended up talking to 2 different counselors in the last 2 days. Just the fact that they're answering the phone and sound happy and don't sound like they're stressed out and like would rather hang up on me, I just find super. It's just the attitude and the respect and the care that they're clearly taking to make sure that every student is going to be successful and is going to have a great year is coming across in waves. So thank you. I think also spreading out our counselors too, so we have fewer students for each counselor. Obviously, thanks for everybody for making that happen, because I think it's working. Also, special shout out to the librarians out there, because apparently they had to open up a lot of boxes of new books, and I got a fantastic photo from a friend of mine who's a librarian, where she just showed me the stacks and stacks of boxes of books that she was opening, and then a very cute one where she sort of, was almost, the pile of boxes were almost as big as her. So that was great. Thank you to all the librarians out there, because I know it was a ton of work before school started. So we appreciate that. Also to Dr. Stevens at Monte Vista, just a shout out to her, because she was so excited. We saw her at the back to school lunch, and she thought she was going to get those higher numbers as well. She thought she'd get there by the end of the year, and so it must be so gratifying for her to know that she's already there. Just means the program's working. I loved her enthusiasm to, for seeing it grow, to hopefully seeing it grow. So so kudos to her, and just congratulations. It's going to be a great year at Monte Vista. So that's awesome. And obviously, thanks to everyone. We were at the Share Ourselves Health Center opening a couple weekends ago. It's a beautiful center, very welcoming. A warm place where you would bring your kids if you needed some, immunizations or whatever you needed health-wise. Great team, great staff over at Share Ourselves. Super excited to be in the community and be able to serve our students and our families this way. So thank you to everyone who made that happen. And special thanks, obviously, to Share Ourselves and Hogue. It turned out great, looks great. We were actually talking that all the buildings now there need to be painted and look exactly like the health center, because it looks like a brand new building, and we could probably just make the whole center look like a brand new building, just some new siding and a little paint. It was great.
I think everyone covered most of the items. The one thing I will add, as someone who lives across from a school as well, and gets to experience the milkman also coming at 1 a.m. in the morning and idling for 30 minutes, it's a real delight. But one of the pros is hearing the first day of school. So it was amazing to hear marching bands and a whole wide orchestra welcome students to school. So that there's some big pluses. I also just wanted to highlight on this Wednesday at the Think Together Shalimar Learning Center, they are going to have a community meeting for the teens to ask them directly what they need, if there's anything that they can add with programming or activities and partnerships. And so those are the kind of community partners that I think just they've been in our community for a long time. Listening and literally setting up a meeting to listen to teens, to me, is really important. So I'm looking forward to that and hoping we can continue and expand those efforts. That's all.
All right, so the resource fair, again, amazing to see the community come together, and it was kind of fun because the principals were all also very into it, and they were all like all together. They had their shirts on and just ready to go because they care so much. And so this is what Newport-Mesa does. You know, we care and we show up. So that was amazing. And of course, we have partners like an IKEA and on Hoag Foundation, et cetera, as you know, Soy, et cetera. The faces on the kids, you know, when they're sitting on the bike that they won from the raffle, or the new shoes that they're going to have on the first day of school, I can guarantee you they're wearing those. So amazing. Great way to launch our year. I also had the privilege, Dr. Smith invited me to come and speak as the president of the board to the principals on their first day back in the Sanborn, and also the community school orientation of at the Lido Marina. And so it's really great to be able to be there and show that we are unified, that our superintendent and our staff, and our governing board is together, works together, believes in each other. And it's important for them to see that message, that we're here for our kids and we're here together, unified. So we are living our motto of being unified. It's not just because it's K through 12. It's like we actually are unified. I was very happy to see at CDM the pilot program for the Yonder program. Amazing. Dr. Haley and I walked the campus during recess, and it was almost like you're on a different planet. No one had a phone in their hand. There actually was conversation going on, eye contact. It was crazy. And and so because we've almost gotten to like normalize phones. They're in our hand all the time. Didn't see one phone. It was amazing. So can't wait to see the stats, the results that are going to come out of this experiment at CDM. Also, being at East Bluff with our new principal, that was very exciting. A lot of parents excited to kind of have a reset button at East Bluff, and that was wonderful to see all the kids excited and all the teachers excited. And back to school nights coming up on Thursday. We'll be there to, again, welcome parents and have community. So just a great launch to the year. Thank you for everyone making it happen. MNO, IT, behind the scenes, constantly doing the work to back us all up. So on that note, let's make it a good year. We've got this. Thank you. Adjourned 8:22.